Why is it that in times of crisis or times of great overwhelm, law of attraction does not seem to work? I know that it does work because in the past, my genuine essential self has asked for a direct positive result from universal source energy, and I've received a direct positive result. So in times of crisis, I find that even though I'm sending out a high frequency request, I'm finding that I receive instead a low frequency result. I am sending it out from my true, genuine, essential self straight to universal source energy. And in a time of crisis, it's very important, of course, that I receive a positive result. So I have been baffled as to why, when I am sending out in sincere hope and expectation for a positive result during a time of crisis, that I don't seem to get one. We know that there's a balance of energies, and that's why law of attraction does work. E equals mc squared. I know that there is an equation for light energy, but I'm going to use E equals mc squared because it's, I believe, quite universally known and understood as energy in one form is the same as, is equivalent to energy in another form. This one being mass and velocity. But the intent here, the point is to say that when we send out a certain amount of energy or request or desire to the universe for a response that we need, that we expect to get that. However, in a time of crisis and overwhelm, it seems, for me anyway, that I don't get that. So I'm wondering why I'm getting the low frequency results rather than a high positive frequency result that I otherwise get when my life is in balance. So I know, as I said, I've tried this before, when my life is in a state of balancing and enhancing, that it does work. I call this the balancing enhancing state. This is when life is mostly going fine. I say mostly because there's always state and situations where things need to be sorted out or mitigated, navigated, and so we're all usually in a state of balancing, but in a way that's manageable. And so I find also that this state is in a state where we are enhancing ourselves and growing and thriving and prospering as well. So I call this the balancing enhancing state, or BEST. The genuine essential me I call GEM. Universal source energy I call USE. And the high frequency results I just shortened to high results. And the low frequency results, the low results. Yes, so why would it be that in a time of crisis, things are different? I believe that the context of being in crisis is a context where there is less love and support and resources available. And so that's why things feel less manageable. It's more difficult to feel balanced, and that a person can understand how to manage all the different realms of one's life in a healthy way, as we can when everything's going fine. So I believe that that there's a spectrum of of love, and that love either is plenty, enough, sufficient, or it becomes less, and that's when we feel lack, and we can feel that perhaps there is moments of fear, or that things are reduced, support, love, and resources are reduced to the point where we feel fear sometimes. So crisis to me is a situation where things are ongoing and don't seem to even out and right themselves after a time, or it's an area of life where there is just complete insufficiency of resources, or it can be 2 or 3 or more, depending on your situation. It's up to you. Everybody feels these things differently, but maybe there are 2 or 3 or 4 areas of your life where you have lack, and it's simply become unmanageable. For instance, if we look at a person's life, there's housing and shelter, there are relationships, there are shared resources, there's spirituality, a number of different areas of life. If you look at the astrological way of categorizing these areas, then there are the 12 houses, which I find very useful. So I call the crisis state the crisis creative context, and I decided on that because I believe that people who are in crisis and who need to keep working and need to keep managing the situation and themselves are the people who are the most creative. They really know how to be resourceful, creative, and courageous. So that's why I've called this context crisis creative context. So then, if we believe that E equals MC squared, meaning that what you send out is what you're going to get back, and you are sending out a request in the context of crisis creative because you need some support, you need some resources, you need some help, you need more support and a boost to what, compared to what you have now, in order for you to function on a normal, healthy level, and you're not getting that, then you are sending out the request as your genuine essential self, yet you're not receiving a high frequency result. So if we were to believe that E equals MC squared, if as you send out, so you receive, then to me it speaks to the fact that there is something intervening between you and universal source energy, and that is what is resulting in the low frequency result. So I believe that this is something that happens to us when we are young and we don't have any say. This is the point at which we are conditioned to adapt to changing situations, or a situation that comes in, or other people's needs. And so this intervenes into the energy of our request. And what it can do is it can have an impact anywhere from a little bit to a great deal. It can impact us a little bit and we adapt that way, or it can impact us greatly and we have to make a huge change from who we truly are in order to accommodate the needs of the situation or the needs of this person. So this is where we call this the block, the energy block that is intervening between your request and as you're sending it directly out to universal source energy. So I believe in the way I have come to understand this over the last year or so, is that when this conditioning happens, there is the genuine essential me that is still vibrant, still present, and still knows who they are. However, this other source energy has made an impact on the genuine essential me, to the point where I believe I need to keep transforming that energy, if it's still actually happening in my life, or the memory of that energy, if I have been conditioned to the point that I believe that is continuing to happen in my life. And so I call that transforming energy, me. That's the me that is transforming energy all the time. And it can be transforming in different ways. So, and keep in mind too that I'm just talking about this one area of a person's life that's being impacted. It's not all areas of life. So there's this energy then that is transforming constantly in order to accommodate the actual situation and person's needs, or the memory of that. This is where I feel that our boundaries are impacted to the point where our needs are seen as, and we start believing that our needs are less than the other situation or the other person's. So we start, it's almost like we become smaller. Our energy field becomes smaller to accommodate the imposition of this other source energy. So yes, our boundaries can be impacted that way. I feel that because the transforming energy me is dealing with the situation, the person, or the memory, that is where the resistance comes in when we talk about resistance. Resistance is it's an action. It's a reaction to having to deal with the other source energy that is imposing itself on us, or making us feel that we have less self, or less safety, or less worth. So there is a state of resistance that we feel, where these feelings of less are present in us. And so it's this resistance that we are noticing. We're noticing this contrast between who we are genuinely and who we feel that we have had to become, the transforming energy me. So between gem and trem, to accommodate the other needs, the lesser other source energy needs. And so there's a resistance that's built up in us to accommodate that difference. I believe that I think this is the way that we live, and that we move in life, and that we journey through our lives until there is an awareness moment, or a crisis moment, or a wake-up moment. And so I feel that sometimes there are things that happen to us, like bad dreams. Maybe we, I don't know, see a movie that reminds us of something we didn't even know had an impact on us, or we didn't even know existed in our lives, but seeing the movie triggers something. And so it can set off a series of events where our genuine essential self is actually trying to come through, and universal source energy is saying it's time for you to leave this now and come back to your genuine essential self. So we want you to know these things, and these things are not happening to you. They may have happened, they may have occurred, but we're sending you reminders so that you can unlock this situation, so you don't have to live like this anymore, and so you can return to your genuine essential self, because the lesser other source energy is no longer an issue. It's not there. It has no impact on your life anymore. So what happened for me, for instance, was I started having some bad dreams. And because I knew from reading and listening to all kinds of energy-related information, that the dreams were trying to tell me something, and that this was not happening to me. And obviously I knew when I woke up from the dream this was not happening to me. Then I was able to set aside the bad feelings of the dream and just start putting together what the images meant. And it took a little while. I had a few dreams over several months. And it took me a little while to work out what it was, but I did work out what it was. And I knew that because the dream stopped. And also once I faced what the dream was telling me, even though at first it was unbelievable to me, once I put disbelief on the shelf and I started saying, what if this did happen? What if this did happen this way? Then things started falling into place. Things started making sense, and I wasn't questioning my intuition, which is a situation which I was always doing when I was in this state of not knowing, in the state of unawareness. So once I started decoding the dream and other things, other life events, then I was coming into a new era of awareness and truth. So this was sort of like a grand awakening for me, because I had no idea that that life was a certain way. I had actually seen it a different way. So this was a huge turnaround for my perspective on my life, and it was very difficult to deal with. It was very unbelievable to me, but it was something that like I said, once I started saying, maybe this did happen, maybe this is the way it was, then a whole lot of things just fell into place and made sense. It was like there was a box of puzzle pieces, and they all put themselves together, and there's the picture. So after this section happened, after this segment of my life happened, then I was able to start shedding that old belief system about myself, my life, and situations from before. So I was able to dismantle, or start dismantling and disengaging from the lesser other source energy. It's a process, and part of what I'm doing here with Light Plays Tarot is addressing how that worked for me and how it's working for me. So this is just part of the wake-up process, is that there is a point where I found that I was able to start detaching from that belief system and those old ideas, because everything had kind of fallen into place and made sense from many, many questions and feelings that I had about the past. This is what happened to me, and it was all internal. This is what was going on inside me. Then once I reached a certain point in this process, some things started happening externally. And what they were was that I would put out a request to the universal source energy for something positive in my life, and I would get a result which was a positive, but the result I got was something not as positive as what I needed. However, what I realized it was, after a time, I realized what the universe was sending me was a metaphor. It was a metaphor for the lesser other source energy, for what this had, how this had impacted me. So it was like, it was as if this was still part of this process of climbing back out of crisis creative context and back into the balancing, enhancing state to return to my genuine essential me. But what I had to do was move from the internal processing to some external engagement for some more internal processing. So externally, I would meet a situation or a person, and they would not be as positive as I would like it to have been, but I realized that this is a part of the way of detaching and dismantling and disengaging from the lesser other source energy. So the universe would send me a metaphor. And the metaphor was actually being very direct with me about what had happened, how I'd been conditioned, and so on. So this was also a very difficult and trying time, but once I realized what was going on, then I sort of dialed my energy down. Not my energy, sorry, my expectations down, because I realized this is a process that I'm coming out of. And so just to turn the expectations down while this process was going on, rather than ramping up my expectations to believe that I could jump from here to here, really helped. And so I just really turned the notches down to when I would ask for something, or just arrange with myself to go somewhere. I would really put the expectation meter very low and just look after myself and take care of myself and put myself in a safe zone, and just not expect that everything that was beautiful and fantastic and wonderful in my life as I would like it to be was going to happen that day. So the metaphors showed me again how to address actually what they were doing too, even though I had to, it was an internal processing, it was also external processing, because this was going back out there in life. This is going back out and engaging socially and going shopping, even little things like that. Things can go awry when your true energy is being impacted drastically by something or someone else. And that's what I found, was my energy had been drastically changed by something else. And so when I went out, even shopping, I would have strange, awkward interactions with salespeople or sales clerks, and genuine essential me is going, this isn't me. This isn't me. This is really odd. I don't want to appear like this. And transforming energy me is just really trying to manage the situation, but also because part of TREM is the lesser source energy. It was going, yeah, this is what you look like, this is what you sound like, this is how you appear in public, this is how you present yourself socially. So that was a very difficult stage as well. So the metaphors provided a reflection as to what I appeared as, or how I presented myself. And then I was able to see it sort of more objectively, I think, because this was about me going out in public, engaging socially, and so on. I think that's why it was more easy for me to see that. So the way I learned to address this was I would listen to law of attraction podcasts and videos, and I would listen to tarot readers as well, and they would get to a point, and I understand about general reads. I know that the reads of the tarot readers are general. However, they would get to a point where they might say something like, just leave it behind, or take the leap, or just trust your intuition. And so everything, I had been following everything to that point, and then they would go on from there, and I'd say to myself, I would love to be able to do that. And yes, this applies to me, but I just don't know how to do that. I don't know how. I don't understand how to move from that point to that point that you just stated in that reading. It's not that it doesn't apply to me. It does very much apply to me, but there's a little transition there that I need to go through. That's not here. I don't hear it in the law of attraction podcasts and videos, and in the tarot readers, they weren't addressing it either. So I got out my tarot cards, I started listening, I started applying my own reading to their readings, and the cards started showing me a different way of interpreting this energy. So I believe that in the crisis creative context, the energy is different than it is when you're in the balanced enhanced state. I believe that when you're moving out of this time of awareness, when the truth hits you and you're going through this wake-up time and nothing is as you thought it was. I believe that right there, what I was shown and what makes sense for me is that rather than having a vague statement and trying to just put something behind me or just take a leap or let something go, what I discovered was that I needed a specific reference point. So So I found that if I had a specific reference point, and the cards showed me this, I didn't figure this out myself. It was just by using the cards that the cards came out and showed me this is what's going on, meaning this is the negative situation that you're in. And then they showed me this is where you need to go. This is the direction you need to face. Turn your back 180 degrees from this and focus on this. And then the way to do that was to, again, it was a matter of just very, very specific points, so that I knew with certainty if I was going to let something go. I knew with certainty what it was that I was letting go. Just to let something go, to let go a vague feeling of fear or uncertainty or just unknowingness was there's too much space there where it could be a number of things. So in the specific context, I had to know specifically what it was I was letting go. So this helped me sort of pinpoint the kinds of things that had been occurring in me, where I'd been conditioned by the lesser other source energy. How those blocks had, how they had impacted different parts of me, how they'd impacted different areas of my life. So then I was able to work with specifics to get to move out energetically away from that energy. Once I was able to do that, then when I went out again, socially, shopping, so on, then these metaphors didn't appear as drastically as they appeared before, because I had changed the energy through moving directly away from something specific to and turning my bearings, turning the compass point 180 degrees away from this specific thing. And the way I did that was I did ask for how can I, okay, this might be the direction that I need to go in, but what do I focus on in order to get there? So I had sort of three gifts from working with the tarot and just trying to sort out and dismantle and sort of decode what was going on as far as this mass of energy otherwise that we feel, that I felt, this mass block of energy. So right there, I'd like to say that I know a lot of the times we call this the shadow, but I don't personally, now having discovered this, I don't like that term, because shadow is something that is just one mass. And I feel that the way I see it is that this mass that we see, or even visually, when we hear the word shadow, we kind of visualize this dark mass, which is indiscernible. There aren't any ways of discerning the energy. Whereas here, I believe that shadow is made up of the genuine essential me and the lesser other source energy that's created the block, that's put down their foot, or maybe a situation has arisen and there's nothing anybody can do, but you have to deal with a situation. So there's this mass, but I feel that in being able to discern one energy from the other, then we're able to take apart and untangle and make more discernible the features of me compared to the other source. And then I can keep me safe and know that I am viable and I'm worthy and I'm valued and I'm loved and I'm protected and I am a fantastic human being and I am all right, and I can start working on this interceding, interloping, interfering other source energy to work it out of me. Yeah, that's how I've come to Light Plates Tarot. This is what I find works for me. You just work your way back up once you're able to discern the difference between yourself and the other energy by using the cards, the pictures in the cards, and your intuition. Then you're able to change the frequency in yourself, in your body, in your energy field. This is what happened to me. Change your frequency in your energy field and focus on something more positive, more engaging, more interesting, more important, and then this actually, it's sort of like it dissolves and disintegrates and just becomes lesser. It's just not that important anymore. It is a process, absolutely, and I believe there are steps in that process. I've covered a little tiny bit here, but I do believe that I don't know, I believe that it's doable. I do believe that this is an instructful, manageable way of dealing with interfering energy, because I know how, for myself, I know how much I was just caught in this area where I didn't know what was going on. I didn't feel like me. I just kept going along sort of day to day, month to month, year to year, going along with what I thought was right and what I thought was the truth, and then I was able to see later on that there was a lot of interference going on energetically, and so then working with it this way just helps set things in motion and on the right track for me. I hope it does the same thing for you. I appreciate you being here and listening. My name is Fiona. I'm going to be doing a number of different things with my Light Plays Tarot channel. I look forward to your comments. I look forward to your questions. I look forward to presenting you with some different meanings that the cards have provided me with as well. And the different card meanings they pertain to this area, the crisis creative context, as opposed to what I found when I listened to tarot readers, I believe, and the law of attraction. I believe for the most part it pertains to the balancing, enhancing state. So I found that the cards were providing different energies, different interpretations of the energy in the card for me as well. So thank you again for being here, and I look forward to spending more time with you.